I'm Danny Flexen. Welcome to the latest edition of SecondsOut FLEXpectations. We're here every Thursday, 4:30 PM, to talk about the boxing action to come over the weekend. And this weekend, it's the highly anticipated and long delayed fight between European champion David Avanesyan and unbeaten GB Olympian Josh Kelly. Fight was first scheduled for December 2018, which was 2 years ago and probably seems like even longer with a pandemic, among other things, intervening. But it got called off on the week of the fight in Sheffield, if my memory serves me correctly, when Kelly fell ill on the week of the fight and couldn't make it. Got a lot of criticism as a result, a lot of flack from Avenesian's team and from fans and so on, thinking or believing that he was apprehensive about the fight and that the illness was an excuse. What I can say is, and if you look back on the interview I did with Josh Kelly and Adam Booth after the public workout that week, which I think was the Tuesday, so 4 days before the fight in Winter Gardens in Sheffield. I think it's called Winter Gardens, or is that Blackpool? Something along those lines anyway. And they came out the ring after the public workout, and there was a strong smell of garlic in the air when I was doing the interview, which I mentioned on camera to Adam and Josh, and they kind of laughed it off, but it was a very awkward, uncomfortable interview, even more awkward and uncomfortable than my usual interviews, I should point out. And I later found out, or worked out then, had it confirmed, that it was that Josh was just, munching, inhaling garlic, basically, to ward off the bug that he had, and it steadily got worse throughout the week until he told me later on in an interview from, about a year ago, that he ended up sat on the floor in his hotel room, just shaking in a corner, unable to get up, and just felt that bad. So I think there shouldn't be any doubt about the veracity of his illness. And I don't think he's ever been particularly intimidated by the Avenesian fight, but if he wasn't then, he's certainly not now. I think the flack that he's received, unjust as it was, has served as a motivating factor. And he's now determined to prove that he's not intimidated by Avenesian or this fight. Obviously, coming off that draw with Ray Robinson, he's fought since and looked pretty good. But the draw with Ray Robinson, again, I felt maybe undue criticism. He's only had, I think even now, he's only had, 11 or 12 fights as a pro. I think Ray Robinson was fight number 10, experienced, former world title challenger, world level fighter, coming off that draw with Mean Machine, which is a good result, and just a tricky southpaw operator. And I thought Kelly looked good in patches in that fight. I had him winning by a point. I remember, because people were asking me the week after how I'd scored it. It was a very tight fight. It's not one of those where, a lucky draw for the house fighter. It was a genuinely close fight that I could have seen go either way, a lot of close rounds. Kelly started well and then faded down the stretch, which he won't be wise to do against Avenesian. But he's had a long time in camp since. We've had a Booth. I'm sure a lot of improvements have been made. He looks in terrific shape, as everyone's remarked upon after seeing photographs of him on Twitter and Instagram. Looks ripped to shreds. He says he's more mature now as well in his mindset. He's got 2 kids, so if you're not mature by now, you're going to have some trouble, trust me. But he seems in the best kind of mindset of his life going into what is the biggest test of his career so far, certainly as a pro. But then you've got Avenesian, who's proven on the world stage. He hasn't won every world level fight he's had. Obviously was stopped by Mean Machine, the aforementioned Mean Machine, but also had fights with the likes of Lamont Peterson, who was a former WBA, I think he was interim champion, maybe regular champion. I'd have to double check. It's so difficult to keep up with all the WBA belts. But yeah, Avenesian proven on that stage, moved back down to European level, stopped Kerman Leharaga, who was making a bit of a career out of stopping British fighters, going over to Spain. Big ticket seller when tickets were still a thing, remember that? In Bilbao in Spain. And Avenesian stopped him not once but twice in quick fashion in the rematch as well. And has had another quick time defence since then as well. So he's coming into this fight on superb form. He won't be at all intimidated by Kelly. He'll feel that he's the puncher in the fight and that he can put pressure on someone who likes time and space to operate, who's got the silky skills and the slickness, but maybe he doesn't always look comfortable under pressure. So it's delicately poised. The only thing Avenesian is concerned about, and he mentioned it in the Zoom conference calls this week from the bubble, well, he didn't mention it. Carl Greaves, his trainer, mentioned it. Avenesian was having a few problems with the Zoom technical issues, the techers, if you like. But yeah, so he said Avenesian is a bit concerned because people have been texting him after the controversial Zelfa Barrett win over Kiko Martinez. And he now feels he needs, if he didn't feel before, he needs the knockout against Josh Kelly. But surely that was his modus operandi anyway, being as he's that type of fighter. Kelly's hinted a inclination to stand and trade with Avenesian, which a lot of people think is madness. But if Kelly is hitting as hard as he says he is, he's also got height and reach over his opponent. It wouldn't shock me to see him standing and trading, not throughout the fight, but in patches when he needs to, standing in the pocket, letting go fast combinations, then moving away, kind of mixing it up a bit more than people are expecting, a bit more than Avenesian's expecting as well. Carl Greaves said, you know, they'll be prepared for anything, but he'd be very surprised if Kelly decided to trade with his man. So we shall see. But it just has all the ingredients of an excellent fight. And I've said this before, and I just want to emphasise it again. For a regular Sky Sports show, this is what we should expect. It's not a pay-per-view show, but it's still a Sky Sports show. You still pay your subscription money. I pay mine. And I want to see good fights, and I want to see good level fights as well. And this is a European title fight, and the winner you would put on the fringes at least of world class. Avenesian's been there before. Kelly flirted with it against Robinson. So the winner of this is in a good position to make a run at a world title shot. Great main event. And also a really good chief support, in my view. Not the same level at all. We're talking about two guys at the moment below British level, even though one of them's not British, but you get the point. The Albanian King, Florian Marku, well supported, heavily hyped, very disappointing last time out in his draw with Jamie Stewart. Let's have it right. He should have won the fight. The decision should have gone in his favour, but he still didn't box particularly well against the mobile opponent. He'll find, I think, against Ryland Charlton, the pint-sized powerhouse from East Anglia, that he'll be a bit more amenable in terms of standing in the centre and trading with him. He's strong, he's tough. Decent boxing skills as well. Proved that he's not intimidated by hype when he destroyed Joe Laws late last year and really put his name on the map. And now we've got those two meeting. They're both signed to Matchroom in recent times. The loser will presumably still be looked after, so nothing to lose really, although there's pride at stake. There's been a bit of talk going back and forth in the build-up. And I just think it's an excellent, well-matched fight. And with two people that viewers of Sky Sports previously will already be invested in because of the build-up they've had for their previous appearances on the channel, particularly Charlton after his win over Joe Laws. So it's the type of fight we need to see more of. And then further down the bill, or I don't know, maybe further up the bill, depending with the number of rounds and so on. But Jordan Gill, who we saw incredibly impressive against Reece Bellotti back in fight camp. He returns in a short notice job against Cesar Suarez, former world title challenger down at super bantamweight, now up at feather. I think Gill will be too fresh and too big, long, rangy, and just too skilled for Suarez, but you can expect him to give a real game effort. And I don't want to call anything a mismatch. That isn't a mismatch anyway, but I don't want to call anything a mismatch after last week's Warrington-Lara debacle, for anyone who tunes into these vlogs on a regular basis. And we also see the return of Robbie Davis Jr. Against Valenzuela, Gabriel Valenzuela. It should be a good fight. Again, we haven't seen Davis Jr. out for a while, and it'll be good to see him come back. He's at the kind of last run, if you like, of his career. I mean, he's not a veteran by any means, but given his age and the fact that he's lost tight one to Lewis Ritson not too long ago, and we've seen Ritson, since then struggle, to be kind, against Miguel Vasquez. I think Davis Jr. now under the astute stewardship of Dominic Ingle will be looking to show real improvements against Valenzuela and then push on towards, probably there's an IBF strap at stake in the fight, so maybe along that IBF route to ultimately get a world title shot of his own. So lots to like about this Saturday's card. I want to hear what you like. What are you most looking forward to on the card? And I guess most importantly, how do you see the main event going? Who wins and how? Let me know in the comments below. I'll respond to some of them. I'll be back on Monday to review the card, among other things, on Monday. I've already said that, for Reflections, 4:30 PM. And then next week, Thursday, the next FLEXpectations at the same time. Really appreciate you watching, and I will see you all next week. Cheers.